Hi everyone, my name is Jordan and I'd like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from the beautiful unceded ancestral territory of the Okanagan people. As leaders, we get asked hundreds of questions each day. And so today I invite you to join me in asking yourself just one question. How does one make a difference through their leadership? Tough question, I know. So I did what we all do when we have a question that we don't immediately have the answer to. I Googled it. And well, if Google Images has anything to say about leadership, overwhelmingly, it seems to be telling me that leadership involves what I can only describe as an arrow-shaped boat, with someone up front staring through a telescope while everyone behind them is rowing and doing all the hard work. I mean, so many boats and telescopes. Needless to say, how you can make a difference through your leadership is a non-Googleable question. So, I took a break from my screen and looked up to see what I could glean from the pictures around the office instead. And right away, 4 different pictures stood out to me. The first, right above my monitor, one of my favorite pictures of all time. Boy on the right, let's call him Corey. He's in my office every second day for hands-on behavior. Boy on the left, let's call him Jake. Jake has Down syndrome and autism and he's very nervous about school. One day Corey's in my office and I asked him if he would take a lead role in helping Jake learn the ropes. Later that day, my colleague texts me this picture and says, "Looks like Corey's back at it with that hands-on behavior again." You know, I can't help but smile every time I see this picture. And I think, well, how did I make a difference through my leadership in that moment? And I realized it was all about believing in people and giving them endless opportunities to grow and shine. And speaking of bright lights, in this second picture, we have Miss Buskell and this smiling young girl. Let's call her Katie. Katie came to us in kindergarten having already gone through several life-threatening health issues. And Miss Buskell, like she always does, takes her under her wing and makes kindergarten one of the best years of Katie's life. Fast forward a few years and bam, our whole school community is brought to its knees. Miss Buskell dies of cancer at 31 years old. You know, I printed that picture off on that same day, and I look at it almost every day when leaving my office. But today I'm looking at it through a different light and I'm asking myself, well, how did I make a difference through my leadership in that tragic moment? And I realized it was just being there for staff, students, and families. Being present and listening with my whole heart. Not solving problems or anything like that, just being there for people. And speaking of being there for people, and on a lighter, funnier note, this picture. Now you might be asking yourself, why would I print a picture of a sticky note with such an incredibly odd message on it? Well, my former admin assistant, Brenda Lee, who I'll talk about more in a sec, used to always leave notes on my desk when people stopped by to see me. One day I came back to my office and saw this hilarious note sitting there, and I still laugh every time I read it. Joking aside, I thought, what could I possibly glean from this picture about leadership? And I realized it's about the importance of creating a culture of psychological safety at your school. A culture where people trust you and trust each other, where people feel safe to literally approach you about anything. Even things like this. And finally, I mentioned I'd circle back to Brenda Lee, my former admin assistant and good friend. You know, I have a story that always comes to mind when I think about Brenda Lee. One day I was around the school and I was heading back to the office and I was about to round the corner into a pretty heated situation. And Brenda Lee stopped me before I entered the room and gave me a full breakdown of what I was walking into. I then rounded the corner and, well, to be honest, I don't even remember what happened after that, because that's not the point. Later that day, I let Brenda Lee know how much I appreciate that she always goes out of her way to debrief me on situations and keep me informed. I mean, she could have just let me get hit by that situation, but instead she went out of her way to seek me out before that happened. The next day, she came to my office and told me how valued she felt, that I let her know how much I appreciated what she did for me. And it wasn't just that I said thank you. She told me that she appreciated that I'm always descriptive and specific in my feedback. Not just hey, you were great today, Brenda Lee, but specifically what she did for me and for our school that made a difference. And really, that's it. Brenda Lee taught me so much about leadership in that one moment. And it's to make sure that everyone in your care feels noticed, valued, and recognized for who they are and for the specific actions that they take in the work that they do. You know, the pictures around my office really have lots of great insights into how I can strive to make a difference in my own leadership. And so to close, I have one more picture to share with you. This bundle of joy. Looking at her, I asked myself, well, what do I want from the leaders in her world as she gets older? And you know what? It's exactly what Brenda Lee and all those other pictures taught me is most important in leadership. It's not about staring down a telescope. It's about being an appreciative leader of those standing right in front of you, those individuals that you have the incredibly fortunate privilege to serve, to notice, name, and nurture the best in each one of them. So If you take any one thing away from this Ignite, my advice, put down the telescope.